Good morning. This is the Hardcore Mortgage Business Show brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. And that was some kind of exciting intro music we had going on there.
What is that?
Harvey goes out of town and all the rock music goes out the door.
Unbelievable.
It was pretty good, though. To my right, we have our fearless leader, Mr. Harry Glanz.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Welcome, Renee.
Welcome.
Yes, we got my fellow top 1% in all of the nation originators, Mr. John Kolb.
Hey, guys. Happy Saturday.
Yes, and on my way here, right, I was thinking, like, I'm glad I took that under bet on the snowstorm, right? So in the studio, we have the one, the only Miss Renee Lacia Acho of Keller Williams Domain, the fearless leader of the RLA Real Estate Group. Welcome.
Thank you. Quite the introduction. I don't know about fearless, but definitely the leader. So.
Oh, yes. It's a little bit of both. I mean, you got to be out here. You're fierce. You're all of the things, right? So we're going to be hitting you up 1 hour real estate talk, business talk, life talk, goals talk. We're going to take all of your calls, 248-539-9797. We're going to be touching on a little bit of the market, the shortage, right? A little bit of rates. Later on the show, I kind of want to pick Renee's brain on what buyers can do to prep for the spring market coming up, right? But before we get into the spring market, let's dive into what's happening right now.
Yeah, so, we had Renee on about 2.5 months ago. And, at the end of 2021, it was, no inventory, shortage, multiple offers. Maybe we thought things were going to change. On my way in, I was in with a father of a client of mine on the phone, and he was telling me that 14 offers, Renee, 14. Here we are. We're on February 5th. This is the 5th, right? February 5th, 2022. The status of the market really hasn't changed, has it?
No, it hasn't changed. And the unfortunate part is we don't anticipate a big change happening. Other than interest rates going up, which we already are expecting, they've already crept up. We know that may shift a little bit of ability. It might shift people from one price point to another, but the reality is in every price point, 100,000 to 10 million or whatever you land in between, the shortages are there, and they really we don't expect a lot of inventory to hit the market for a number of reasons.
Yeah, so did you hear that, everybody? We've been saying rates aren't going down to zero for how many years now? Rates are going up. You heard it from Renee. Another an interested third party, but some different voice on a mortgage person like John or Becky or myself saying rates are going to go up in 2022.
They have to. And I think people anticipated that. They started to expect it. What I find to be interesting is when people think, oh my gosh, rates are going to hit 4%. And I say to them, well, hello, that's still a historical low.
Yeah.
I mean,
Thank you.
Love her.
At 3%, it's free money, at some point. And 4%, we were, for those of us who've been in the business long enough, we were backflipping when it hit 4%. So there's still historic lows. It's going to shift a little bit of people's ability, but you are still, if you can lock in to anything even near that for a 30-year, even a 15-year, you are doing very, very well.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about perspective, right? And like you're saying, like in that moment when they did drop down, everyone's like, oh my God, yeah, we're finally at 4.25, yay, right? And we got a little bit of spoiled, right, for some time. And COVID-19 was that dark horse. We've talked about it, as far as driving, the rates down. But the rates were not going to stay sub 3% to the end of time. And you're fooling yourself if you thought so. And here we are. And if we're just going to get right into the rates as it is right now, the reality is the Fed, all they did was just announce things that we already knew was going to happen. And we've talked about it on the podcast. All the rates are doing right now, they've actually already got in position. When they talk about these things happening, rates, just like the stock market, they do a really good job of getting in that position. So hopefully in March, when it does happen, all we're going to see is just maybe even a little bit of bip in our favor, because then the market will settle to see what really is going to happen.
Yeah, we do a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction when somebody coughs or sneezes in the Fed, right? So now there's the correction is going to come back where we're going to get a little bit back. But, like Becky said, if they do as projected, we shouldn't see much change at all because the market's already taken that into account. And it's just it's history. That's what we've done over and over and over again. It's like Renee said, 4 is still a very good interest rate. 3.875 is still a very good interest rate. We were flipping pancakes when they went from 7% to 6.5.
Yeah,
so
pancakes.
Flipping pancakes.
I like pancakes.
It was
the griddle was hot.
Yeah, and I tell people because we've been doing this. We've all been doing this a long time. I tell people when they get really fed up about hearing 3.875 or 4%. Gosh, back in 2000, you would have hated me because I was writing mortgages at 9%, 9.25%.
Right.
And I mean, I don't think we're going to get to those levels.
No.
But you got to just be
we're
prepared.
There.
Yeah.
I think we're there, and we're just going to now start to see the market kind of adjust to that. And speaking of that, right, I want to talk about. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Becky, this is such a great conversation because Renee and Becky, I'm so glad you're here to protect me from John. I'm sitting kitty corner on everybody out there. So I love John so much. So the other day, I mean, I'm telling you, I can hear him. He's on the other side of the building.
This is going to be a good conversation. This could be another argument.
Right. So he comes rolling into my office. These rates are this what's going on, the rates. So I'm telling you, when you see aggressive, angry John rolling into your office,
I live for it.
You gotta buckle in. So I had my seatbelt on, my shoulder harness on. I said, John, I wish we could control it. I really, really do. And he's telling me about a bank and this and that, whatever. And I said, listen, let's just let everything calm down. Let it sort itself out. And things are going to be okay, right? But when you're in that moment, when you're fighting, it's like, Renee, when you're fighting for your client on an offer, and there are multiple offers on there, you get rolling, you get caught up. John was fired up.
I do not like to lose clients, right? And I am always going to do the best that I can, the best rate I can. And if I have to take Harry's head off to do it, I'll do it 3 times in one day if I have to.
Thank
you.
you.
Speaking of fighting, we got Ron on the phone. We're talking about fighting for our clients. He's got a question about financing. Ron, how are you? Where are you from? And what is your question?
Hey, I'm from Brockway, Michigan, just south of Yale.
All right.
And I'm looking to buy some real estate. And I have great credit rating. I got some money in the bank. I just refinanced my house, but I got a work situation which has caused the bank to refuse me from getting a mortgage. I was laid off in March. I collected unemployment all year. I'm a carpenter, so I had a job for 3 years. He laid me off, so I went back to working on my own. So now I'm self-employed. I'm also getting disability. I gave them my income from last year, and they still refused me. So I want to buy. What I want to do is I want to buy some rental houses, and I'm getting frustrated finding people to loan me the money, and I'm just open for some suggestions here.
Yeah, let John go ahead and take that.
Well, here's the toughie, right? So you got a couple different things going on, right? You're looking at investment properties. Investment properties are a little bit trickier of a finance regardless. They're a deeper dive into underwriting. You're not going to get the leniencies that you get when you are underwriting a conventional mortgage, or I'm sorry, your primary mortgage. Second thing is that you're now self-employed. We cannot use self-employed income unless we have a full year's worth of tax returns under our belt. And when you are just starting out, 9 out of 10 times, it's more like 2 years most of the time. So, you got a little bit of a tricky situation. Now, what you could possibly do, if it's feasible, is could you qualify with just your disability income? If we can show that your disability income is going to sustain, we could get you to qualify just on that income. But, depending upon how much that is each and every month and what you're looking to purchase, you also have to still qualify with your current primary residence. The good thing about buying a investment property, right, is that if we do a comparable rent schedule as part of the appraisal, we don't have to hit you for the new debt as part of your ratios, as long as the rents in the area are equivalent to what you're buying the house for. It's a long, detailed calculation, but that's something that we could certainly look at for you.
Well, yeah, that's what I was curious because I applied for a commercial loan and they turned me down too.
No, you're never going to get a commercial loan. Yeah.
Yeah.
I say you're never going to get a commercial loan. Commercial loans are even harder than residential mortgages. And if you're buying one residential investment property at a time, do them with a residential loan. Flip the title into an LLC. You'll have the mortgage in your name, but you'll be limited to your liability through the LLC that you put the title into.
I do have an LLC, and that's what I was wondering. If I'm showing on paper, if I buy this house, I put 20, 30, 40% down, and the income that I'm going to get from the rentals will, by more than far pay for the mortgage, That's what I don't understand. Why can't I get a mortgage?
Yeah, I think we're going to have to take a look at this, John. Let's
Yeah,
get a little more
we're definitely going to
information
give
on
you
it.
a call, Ron, after the show, because the reality is that you're right. It does offset it, but you need to have that history, right? You don't have the tax returns done yet from the sounds of it, right? With you just converting, you're self-employed and all that. So we will definitely give you a call after the show. We're going to look at your tax returns. We're going to look at your situation and just make sure you're getting in the right position for your future goals. So if 2022 is where you want to be, you called the right place. So we're up at our first break. We're going to take all your calls all morning, 248-539-9797. We got our fearless leader, Renee, in the house, our LA group. Coming right back. Welcome back, and thank you for joining us here on the Hardcore Mortgage Show. I am Becky Alley. We're going to be taking all your calls, 248-539-9797. We got Renee Laciacho of Keller Williams, the leader of the RLA group, joining us. We're excited. We're here to talk about everything that's real estate and all of the things. So we're just coming off our first giant snowstorm. Right? And driving in, here we are, and now we got these buyers in the market, and they're entering, it's with no signs of slowdown like we were talking about, right? So what are we doing? 2021 is going to go down in history of one of the biggest profits for sellers, right? And one of the toughest markets for buyers. So here we are. We had some buyers that probably got out of the game in 2021 because they're frustrated. And now here they are. They got their pre-approval shanks, right? Their weapons of choice. They're going to give everyone paper cuts because they want their offer to be accepted. Yes. But here they are. And they're coming in, right? And is it just as competitive, or if not more competitive right now here in the winter?
It's competitive. It's going to stay competitive. Based on what we were just talking about is another pressure point that's going to hit the real estate market, and that is interest rates going up. That is going to then launch a lot of people who maybe thought, let me wait a couple months, wait till the fall even. They are going to try to take advantage. So now you've got another level of demand that's going to put further pressure on the inventory that really is not existent. And it's depleted for a number of reasons. It actually is from 2020, people who were staying in their homes during COVID. We were telling everybody, look, we're stuck in here for whatever it was, 90 days almost. Let's do projects to your house. get those improvements done. People then converted their own homes to make use out of them and decided, forget it, I'm not going to sell them. I'm going to stay. So that removed one group of homes that would have entered the market from the inventory. Then coming out of COVID, no one anticipated the supply lines to be so backed up, the labor shortages that we've had. So the delays on another whole group of homes that did not hit the market or are slower to hit the market, the new construction, the renovation projects that traditionally would have taken 4 or 5 months, are 8 months, 9 months, 10 months out. Construction loans are now changed from 12 months minimum. A lot of them are going to 18 months because we know it's taking that much longer. So that's depleted it. That coupled, though, with people who now still are wanting to move. They've decided that they want to do this, and they're after these houses, and they're going to try to capture it before the interest rates shift. So we've had 2 years of depletion. We have less inventory hitting the market for a number of different reasons. And the biggest bottleneck that we're dealing with as the agents are countless people, clients who are saying to us, well, look, Renee, I'm happy to sell my house. I want to capture a 14, 15% increase in the market that my house just appreciated in less than 12 months on. But where am I going?
Right.
Where are you going to put me? So the creative strategies of a licensed, solid agent who's going to be able to help navigate that is crucial. And I think people are missing that opportunity because they're trying to jump directly to a listing agent or directly to the homeowner. And there are things that obviously in a profession we know about because we're in it that a regular homeowner or a buyer on their own isn't going to be able to do.
Yeah, so Renee, you just gave us the why. You gave us the why inventory levels are down. There are certain markets that are just way down. We're at record lows right now. Going into 2022, we are record low inventory. So you gave us the why, but tell us how. How are we going to come out of this? Give us, what are you doing? And I know that might be the $64,000 question, but how are we going to go ahead and turn this around? What are you seeing that is making you realize that, listen, 14 offers on one home and no contingencies, and people are waiving inspections, which don't get me started on that. I'll get all John Kolb on you about that, okay? Can't do that. How are we going to help our clients?
So it's not easy, and everyone's frustrated. There's buyer fatigue. There's seller confusion. One of the things that we have, we have a couple of different strategies that have worked nicely, and not for everybody, but for at least a group of people, is most people want to buy before they sell now. They're saying, I'm scared to sell my house because I don't know where I'm going. So if you can qualify, and there are programs, and you guys know, obviously, you could potentially take, if you were anticipating the down payment from the sale of your home to put into a new property, maybe there's a HELOC. Maybe you could pull that out in an equity line, leverage that equity to purchase a house, and then obviously turn around and sell, when you sell your house, clean that out, but be able to capture your new purchase prior to selling. That's one way. Another option that we're seeing a lot of are people doing rent back. So buyers who are looking in the market that say, well, I haven't sold my house yet. You can push out a closing, or what you do is you close and you say rent back. We'll allow you, because sellers have the same issue. I don't know where I'm going to go, so there's a win-win opportunity. If you can close on the property and offer as a seller 3 months of staying in the property, renting back, it gives that buyer the opportunity to then put their house on the market and get a little head start. So sometimes you can get the stars to align, but the flexibility of buyers and sellers is really different. With the urgency for sellers, and if you're going to in a compete situation, which 9 out of 10 times in this market you will be, you do want to offer your best foot forward. A quick closing, a tight timeline for inspection. You better do an inspection. I don't care who tells you not to.
Yes.
Horrifying idea. I can give you a horror story after horror story, but I won't. Please do an inspection. Just make it a tight timeline. Give a good EMD. Make the offer clean, but then offer maybe some rent back. That's what you need to have, and to win that offer, to win that property. But there's conversation that can take place between the listing agent and buyer's agent that might actually create a win-win scenario that you might not be aware of. And not everyone's going to be in that place, but it's worth the conversation to find out.
Listen, I love when we have amazing people like you, and I hope everyone is listening, taking notes. She literally just schooled everyone on what to do, and a lot of it has to do with who you're working with and what they're doing for you, and that communication. As tale as old as time, picking up the phone, it sounds so wildly simple, but yet it's really hard for people to do. And speaking of picking up the phone, I want to go over to Bob, our caller. You got a little question for us? Looking forward to hearing from you, if I could speak correctly.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Hey, I just wanted to tell the listeners I had a really positive experience working with you guys several years back at a very old home that I had purchased, my wife and I, and gutted it and was using money from the sale of a previous home and basically ran out of money. And then my wife's timeline changed and we had to get a mortgage to finish the job. I was striking out everywhere I went until I was listening to the show one morning and decided to give you guys a call. And after the show, you guys called me back and got a loan to get my house finished up, and just wanted to say thank you and what a great experience it's been. I still even get birthday emails from John.
Oh, hey, what's up, Bob?
Hey.
You helped me in a very tough situation, and just wanted the other listeners to know that you guys were very creative and came up with the loan for me and my family. And we've been in the house now for several years. Still have you guys as our lender, although we did refinance, and it's all good. So
Thank you, Bob.
guys
Thanks
Hey,
for
we
the
really
call.
appreciate that call.
For the other listeners out there, if you're stuck in a situation, give these guys a call. They'll look for alternatives that other places won't. So.
Well,
Yeah,
Bob.
thanks, Bob.
We did not pay him to call us.
Yeah.
No,
That
that was a
is
great
not
surprise.
John Kolb's brother.
No.
It is not.
No,
No.
I'm definitely not John Combs' brother, but just a very pleased customer. And, when I was striking out at my credit union and everywhere else, I didn't really know where to turn and decided to call one morning, and you guys helped me right away. So
Great.
all
Well,
good.
thank you, Bob. Thanks for the call. And hey, for everyone out there, but what Bob's talking about is a renovation loan, right? If you get halfway through a project, you get stuck. We've got the renovation loans, but you got to hear what Renee was saying earlier, that these renovation loans are as hard as the new construction loans because they take a little bit longer. The cost is a lot more. The labor's a lot more. The materials, everything. So, give us a call. We'll get you through those. But we were able to help Bob, and him and his family are. That's one of those success stories we love to hear. So thanks so much, Bob.
Yeah, that's why we wake up and do it every day. And I'm going to tell you this right now. When Renee was talking about the market, and I'm sitting with Renee, I'm sitting with John Kolb and Becky Alley. You're talking about the top people in their profession, especially in our area. This market right now is not a market for rookies. And I'm just telling you that you have to be very experienced in putting transactions together. You have to know your stuff. And even then, and there's no guarantee, this is a very tough market. And the more experience, the more people you have aligned on your team, the chances for success go up greatly. So, Bob, thanks a lot. We appreciate that call. And Becky, it's not getting easier out there. It's getting a little tougher, but I do believe that there's, sunshine coming on April 1st. We always say we're building a bridge to April. That's going to be springtime coming up. And actually, it's the end of March is spring. Remember that?
Yeah. And
remember that?
One of my best friend's birthdays is like the first day of spring. Yeah. I mean, like you're always.
So we April 1st is our goal. We got to get from right now, the freezing cold, 3 degrees when I walked the dog this morning. Okay. My wife's going to say she walked the dog. Well, I walked the dog, then she took the dog from me. Okay. So 3 degrees. April 1st can't come soon enough for me, guys.
I can see Harry walking the dog from the bedroom to the door, and then Randy taking the dog outside.
That's a good one, John. I got you first, and then you got me second. That's a good one. I like that.
Well, cold or warm, you can't wait for the real estate market. We used to wait for the spring market to hit. That was what
Michigan's
we
a
did.
365 state.
It is, and of course, you have some of the low months, but we are seeing a jump start to the spring market, and I think that people are not going to wait to that March, April warm up that has traditionally been the start of our market, because they realize that the inventory is low and people are jumping. We have 2 listings that we put on the last week in 2 totally different areas, over 21 showings in 2 days, and you anticipate it. So this is January when we got early February. Don't wait to do what you can do now.
Yeah, I mean, it's always time is of the essence, and you want to make sure that you're jumping on every single solitary thing. And again, who you are aligning yourself with, the sun, the moon, the stars, all that matters, because that's the difference between getting your offer accepted and not, because not every pre-approval is equal, right?
No, and not only that, as a seller, right now we're so excited. Our sellers are getting multiple offers, and you have all offers aren't created equal, and it's not always about the number. And I think that is the misguidance that a lot
I'm glad
of
you
people
said that.
take. It's not. And I have one. I could give an example from this weekend. We had a fantastic property. The we have several offers on it, and one buyer who is much higher than the rest is not qualified. She's only putting 10% down. There will be an appraisal issue on this house. There's no question about it. And an appraisal guarantee is not going to lock in, which is, again, something that if you're not savvy enough in this market to know about, you should have someone to help you, because escalation clauses and appraisal waivers are definitely something you want to be aware of. But in this case, if you're only putting 10% down, the appraisal waiver is not going to be something that's going to help, because the person doesn't have the equity or the liquid cash to put on. So you want a lender that is going to help to navigate this. And I will pick a purchaser who's got a lender that I know.
Right. I mean, and all that matters. I mean, reading the contract, having professionals in your corner that are going to help you, like you said, navigate all through that, it matters. So when we come back, we're going to dip into rates. We talked about in the beginning of the show, but we are going to talk about how the raising rates does not mean the sky is falling. So keep it right here, 248-539-9797. Welcome back. You're listening to the Hardcore Mortgage Show. The Hardcore Mortgage Show is brought to you by Fairway Independent Mortgage, Equal Housing Lumber 2289, or Equal Housing Lender MLS 2289. If I could, Jesus, too much caffeine. I'm like,
well, that's for all the attorneys and compliance people that are listening. Okay, so it's NMLS number 2289, Equal Housing Lender.
Yeah,
there you go, everybody.
Like you got to say it like the Micro Machines, man.
Harry's just used to it because he has to do it on every call.
Yeah, I do. I appreciate that, though. You know, it keeps the compliance and the attorneys off our back.
Right.
I hear that. So before the break, we were talking about all of the things, right? And I want to take it back to rates, right? Because people feel that with the rates going up, that means the sky is falling. And I want to kind of take a minute to explain why, even though the rates have went up a half since the first of the year, right? It's still a good time to buy, because you're talking about, we are predicting housing market, the home prices are going to increase appreciation around 15%. And that's just in the first quarter of 2022, right? So what does that mean? So even if you, with the rates increasing, it still makes sense to purchase these homes. Buyers, and even if you have an existing home on refinancing, you should not be discouraged to still kind of try and achieve your goals.
Right. I mean, in my opinion, I say this all the time. If you're going to pitch a bitch about a rate between 3% and 4%, you might not want to buy that home. You might not be able to afford it, because there's so much more that goes into a home that 1% in a rate shouldn't make your do or do not. You know, so you never know what's going to pop up. You have to be prepared. You have to be prepared for the over expense on each and every home, and just get with your team. Like Renee was saying, Becky was saying, get with your team. A lot of communication, making sure you're talking about what the positives and negatives are. You know, before the break, Renee was talking about offers being accepted versus not being accepted, and I'd love to hear some more about what her mentality on as a listing agent on what should be accepted, what shouldn't, so that our listeners can be savvy enough to move forward in their next opportunity. But talking to your team about, hey, okay, I'm going to put this appraisal waiver or this escalation clause into place. What could this possibly do to my numbers? And that's something I would love to go over with each and every client so that they know what they're getting themselves into. Too many times I get a call and I gave an appraisal waiver. You're putting 5% down. How are you going to do an appraisal waiver? What happens if this thing comes, $40,000 under purchase price? Where's it going to come from?
Right.
Well, what does that mean? What do you mean? What does that mean?
There should be, just like creative strategies in making an offer, there's also, if you really are that rate conscious, if you really are freaking out about 3.5% or 3. I hate to say it, but you
Don't
guys
buy
know.
the house.
Either don't buy the house, or then do something different than do a 5%, do a 7-year arm, do a 10-year arm. Sometimes you can get a little bit of a better rate with that. I wouldn't suggest it. I think at these historical lows,
it's still a fixed rate market. Mm-hmm.
It's still a fixed rate market, but we do have clients that somehow can't wrap their head around, well, I had 3.2% on my other house and I want this. Okay, well, if it really is, there are strategies around that. But what there are not strategies around are capitalizing and getting that house. So they should be looking also at their down payment, because with the escalation of these prices at 15%, that's something to consider too. And at 4%, it's insane. So you need to be able to put the money down, especially with the escalation clauses, especially with the appraisal waivers. And what I was saying before the break is you have to have people like this. These are your mortgage strategists that when I get an offer and I'm working with a client and a buyer brings an offer from someone I've never heard of, or a company that really doesn't have a good relationship with that client, I don't care if they're $20,000 ahead of the other person. Sometimes that offer is not, they're buying the time. So you've got to be careful. We have buyers out there or agents that will put an offer down that these people are just trying to lock it up, and they may not qualify, or they might not be the best buyer for that particular property. And that's the consulting that you need to do with your sellers. And sellers, be aware, not all mortgage companies are created equal, and not all offers are going to go across the finish line. You have to know that is crucial to accepting an offer.
Yeah, so people have to understand that houses are going for at list or over list. Okay, and if they're going for over listing price and you're putting a minimal amount down, like Renee said, the appraisal is not going to come in. Plan on it not coming in. So then the down payment becomes the issue. If you want to put less down, chances are Renee, if she's got 5 offers in front of her, she's going to go with probably the highest price and the most amount down. All right, or else it's going to blow up. If there's something $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 over, but you're only putting 5 to 10% down, and Renee knows the house, and everybody knows it all just goes up front. This house is not going to appraise for X. You're buying it in the hot market. That's what you're doing. It's supply and demand. You know it. We know it. But you're not going to get the appraisal in on it. Right, John?
Right. So I've got a question for Renee then. So someone puts an offer in at 20% down. You accept their offer. The appraisal doesn't come in. They have to switch their financing to 10% down to cover the appraisal guarantee. Are you cool with that as a listing agent?
As long as yes, I would be okay with that. I don't care as long as I know that they have the funds. So before I accept that offer, the conversation happens between me and you, John.
Yep.
This is where a listing agent that knows the business and knows what they're doing and has had a history of watching things, that don't always work out. We do not accept an offer, whether it's multiple offers or not. Historically, I haven't. Until I speak directly with the lender, I want to know how deeply they've gone down the road with that client. Do they have liquid funds to be able to adjust if this appraisal doesn't come in or otherwise? What can they tell me? Now, they can't always disclose everything. We have RISPA violation issues, which I'm very, very aware of. But they can at least get us comfortable. And if I have a company, like Capital, who is established, who we know is going to give us clientele and make a pre-approval for someone who legitimately can do this, we know that together your team will navigate it. If I don't have someone with that I have that level of confidence with, I may not be willing to adjust it. It is as important. It's probably one of the most important things when you're getting an offer, to know and have had that conversation with the lender to make sure that as this maybe moves around, the buyer can move with it. And that the company knows how to do that.
I actually had a conversation with some real estate agents yesterday, and they were talking about just this, right? The conversation, you see an offer, they'll call, but they'll purposely call lenders 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night just to see if they're going to answer, because that is a tell sign of who you're dealing with. And I know I'm tethered to my phone. We all are, right? Because this is our business. But every pre-approval is not equal the same. Just like every person that's on the other side of that, they're not. I'm done at 5. I don't even know what that means, right? So, are you purposely calling people at 8 o'clock just to see if someone's going to answer? Sometimes people do, sometimes they don't. But the reality is that you have to be available when you are in this competitive market, because maybe that's when the time that the sellers have time for themselves to look at these offers.
And if I make those calls and get 1-800 call me, from some lenders, that offer is getting pushed aside because I'm going through 3 or 4 of these to see which one really is in the best interest with my client. And I need to know I've got a cell phone, I can text somebody, and they're going to respond, and that they know this industry the way they need to.
What I like the most about what you said too, though, is sometimes it's not always the top dollar, right? Because if someone's offering you $75,000 over asking, who cares if the loan doesn't close?
Right.
Right.
Who cares? That's cool. I'll take the next elevator, right? Because I know this loan's going to close, and my clients are still going to get a realistic top dollar for this market, because all these are just record-setting years after year after year.
Right. And I really like when buyer's agents give me, Becky, Harry, the heads up that, hey, I'm giving your name, I'm giving your number, they're going to be giving you a call, so that we can be aware and ready to talk about the positives of the client that in the offer that they've accepted. And 9 times out of 10, sometimes you're putting a little bit less down, 10% down, 15% down, so that you can cover that appraisal guarantee, or like we were talking about, to make sure that they have enough money. So it's all about making sure the communication stays there, that you have that conversation with the buyer's agent and the listing agent, so that they're aware that this client is able to put 20% down. But if the appraisal comes in, it's going to be more like a 10% down, because I don't like surprises. I don't want to get to 2 weeks into the loan and everyone blows up because nobody knew what was going on. I'm very upfront. Yeah.
No, to the point, like, John, you are fantastic about stuff like that. And I know you're like me a lot, where I will tell like my agents that I work with on a regular basis, they copy me on these offers. And so when they are submitting these offers, I'm immediately chiming in. So that way everyone knows I'm engaged, I'm locked in, and I know you do the same, because there's not very many people that can take information and immediately adjust, because unfortunately buyer sabotage is also a real thing. They don't mean to do it. People are out there buying things they don't need to buy, and it takes a very special person to be able to take something that could potentially blow something up and just pivot and make it happen. And you're someone that's really good at doing that. Harry knows how to do it. I mean, but not very many people can do that.
Right. Well, it's 25 years, and all this gray hair, so that'll do it for you.
But it goes back to what we were saying. This is not a market for newbies.
Nope.
This is not something you don't want to have anybody representing you on the lender side, on the mortgage side, on the inspection side, that has not experienced it, doesn't understand what they are getting into, because it's it's a battle out there, and you have to have the tools and the skill set to understand how you can help your client. And it is absolutely, it's not something for people who haven't gotten some.
No,
things
and
out
it's
there.
and it's really key. I mean, I have empathy for buyers right now. I mean, you're talking that it's another second year, extremely competitive. Now there's like the rate hikes. People are freaking out when they probably don't need to as much. It's just having those conversations. Your payment's adjusting by $30.
But we've seen a shift, though, right? We've seen a
Yeah.
shift in expectations. Before 2 years ago,
Yep.
everybody wanted the sun to move and the stars. Right now, buyers are shifting their expectations. Right there, they're adjusting a little bit downward what they thought. Instead of checking 9 out of 10 boxes, maybe they're checking 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10 boxes. So, Renee, you're seeing all of a sudden a change in attitude, right?
Buyer fatigue is real.
It is
Yes.
real, and we're up against another break. When we
Lender
come back,
fatigue is real.
when we come
fatigue
back,
is real.
I want to hear Renee's market trends. What's going on? What's cool in the houses? And what can a buyer, sellers do right now to prepare for the spring market coming up? We're taking all your calls, 248-539-9797. Welcome back to the Hardcore Mortgage Show, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. We are powered by Fairway Independent Corporation, MLS number 2289. Got it out that time.
Knocked it
Hooray.
out.
Perfect.
We are joined by the one, the only, Renee Lacia-Acho, leader of her our LA group, right, out of Keller Williams domain. Class act. Listen, if you have an opportunity to, reach out to her, her staff, her team, you are talking to of the highest caliber of agents that you're going to deal with. I mean, literally, her energy, if you guys could be in the room, a great aura, good person. She knows what's going on, and I feel blessed to be here today with her. We're going to pick her brain on some things that sellers can do to prepare for the spring market. But before we get into that, we have a call. Kevin, how are you? Where are you from? And what is your question? We got Kevin?
Hello,
Hello, Kevin.
Bueller.
Kevin's not here.
All right.
Kevin's not here. We're going to go back to Kevin as soon as we can get him back up on the line. So in the meantime, what are things? So like you got housing trends, new construction, right? What are things that are timeless? And is it, I'm kind of like hitting you with all of them at once, actually, so I'll probably back up. But like, sellers putting their house on the market, do you tell them to fix it? Do you tell them to leave it?
Oh, whoa. There is a method to the madness.
Okay.
Yes, we have an inventory issue. Yes, your house is going to sell most likely if you are priced right. Do not mistake that pricing is still the driving force behind offers. People think, I can price it. No, you have to have some level of comps. But you should always start with staging. And we do this on every one of our houses. I don't care whose house it is. I don't care if it's new construction. I do it on my own house when I sell it. Staging is where it should all start. And there's reasons for it. So staging doesn't just mean bringing in furniture. It means going in and sort of cleaning up the areas. It's organizing closets. It's moving furniture, your existing furniture around. It's paring down some of your accessories. It's opening up your countertops. It's getting your windows cleaned, getting your carpets cleaned. Why is this important? And paint is my favorite most cost
Yeah, I want to hear about the paint.
favorite way to start anything. It makes everything feel fresh. You should neutralize your rooms. You don't want to make it so vanilla that it's unexciting, but you clean it up. And a lot of times, just a quick, fresh coat of paint that's usually very cost effective is going to bring you back a considerable amount of money because it feels better. It looks cleaner in the photos. It feels fresher when people go into the homes.
So, Renee, I'm a hoarder. Right?
God.
I'm a hoarder.
He is.
You're one. He's like
Well,
Ariel
I keep,
in Little
you should see
Mermaid.
my office is crazy. But anyway, so my wife, I hope, please don't listen, honey. Don't listen to this show. What do you do when you have somebody like me that likes to keep everything?
Well, you can't.
Move you out?
It is an option. But I do this. So on my team, we pay for the staging. I go into every house and I tell them, listen, you want my listing? I have a level of expectation that I set for my team, and I'm doing this for you. I'm not here to be your best friend or your decorator, but what I'm going to do is be your consultant, and I will advise you that doing these things, when you go through a closet, people sometimes think, oh, I'm going to make the closet all organized because it makes me look like I'm,
I have my life together.
Exactly. Well, that's one reason, but the real reason is that when buyers go in and they open up that door, you don't want things to look like they're stuffed, because that then sets the tone that there's not enough room in the house. There's not enough place to store it. There's not enough, why are your shoes all by the front door? There must not be a mudroom. So those are things that are not just strategies for making the house look more up to date, but also cleans those spaces so people don't psychologically think there's not room for them. So we do that. A good agent will start with staging. If you don't have anybody, there are a lot of companies out there. We have our own, and there are several companies that will come in, and for a very reasonable amount of money, that investment alone is going to bring you back a lot in your photos. That's where it all starts. So starting with the staging, doing some things like paint, getting things cleaned, getting your windows cleaned, doing your front pots, those are basic things. Beyond that, if you have, I tell my clients, do a pre-inspection if you can. And it doesn't have to be a full-blown inspection, but who crawls into their attic? Who goes and looks into the back corner of their, you're going to pay for it.
Well, you don't want to be surprised. You don't want to be surprised on the real inspection.
No, so you can do a few things, do a sewer scope if you need to, do some things that will at least preventative medicine, if you will. Do a little health checkup, and then present that to your seller, to your potential buyers, and say, look, we did this. This was all done. It tells the consumer that's coming into the house, these people are very on top of it. This is a house that's been nicely maintained. And, if you're thinking about selling the house in the fall, get your gutters cleaned then, so that if you're doing this in the winter, you don't have clogged gutters that look, potentially for ice damming. So there's a lot of things, changing your air filters, changing your furnace filters, things that are general maintenance that you should be doing year round. But if you're not, and you're thinking about selling your house, definitely do them now.
So this list, right? These are things that you're in a seller's market, and the fact that you're still out here promoting, what you're promoting as far as for your sellers to get in position, do their own private inspections on their homes, because you are prepared. I mean, that is the level of professionalism that you're getting with Renee and her team. They're not resting on their laurels of, this is a seller's market, we're going to get the top dollar, we don't have to do anything, because they're always putting their best foot forward. And that is just a testament of the caliber that you guys are working with.
Right. Yeah, she's not out there just throwing houses against the wall to see what sticks, right?
It's her name.
She's there to make sure that she's getting you the best dollar, that she's making her team do the least amount of work, so that they prep on the front end, kind of like we all do, right? With running numbers left and right.
See, we take that for granted, though. Everyone doesn't
right?
do that.
No, not every. You're 100% right, and it's that type of relationship that you want to build with somebody like Renee or somebody like Becky, Harry, myself, so that we can always be there giving you advice. Renee wants everybody walking through that house to see the potential of the home, not what the home has been through, not the hell through. Yeah, so
positive eye spasms.
I love that.
Right. So
you do. You want people think they're going to get that price automatically. On these situations, you might get caught up in getting that list price and getting a certain offer, but it can catch up to you on an inspection if your house hasn't been maintained. And it's just good habits. And yes, I, as an agent, want my inventory and my clients to show up in their best, their best foot forward.
Well, your name's on it.
And my
it's
name's
your
on
brand
it.
name.
It is.
Yeah.
It's your brand name. You've built a brand. You know what you expect out of it. And when you walk into somebody's house, you're going to say, "Hey, Harry, get those boxes out of your closet, buddy. Get rid of all this stuff," right?
And it transacts to more dollars in your bank. It really does. People don't realize it, but I can show you situations where that has happened and it hasn't. And at the end of the day, you will get more money for investing that time and energy into pre-listing your house the right way.
And when you pull those boxes out of Harry's house,
ahead.
you know
Here
where
we
they go, right?
If you went
They
to John's closet, he still has a Plexico Burris MSU jersey that he wore when he was walking around on campus.
Well, that's
right,
not
John?
true, but that's okay. I
mean,
don't
I
wear
probably have
another
some-
man's name on my back.
Okay. Hey.
Unlike
so-
you,
I'm not
unlike
ju-
you,
I'm not
unlike you,
judging.
Stafford.
I love Matt Stafford. Sorry.
I
Here
mean,
I am.
listen, yeah, go
My
Matt
guy.
Stafford for sure next week. We're pumped about
All the
that.
haters come out.
Absolutely.
Hate me, please.
Okay, so I want to hear about paint colors, right? So trends. We're the white and grays, all the things, right? Is it still white and grays? Are we leaning towards pops of color again? What's happening out there?
So neutrals are everything.
'Kay.
Neutral. And it's you can add your elements, but you want to start with a neutral palette. It was the real dark floors for a while. We were doing those ebony color and coffee color espresso floors. It's moving toward, if you're doing anything new or you're renovating, and if you go onto my Instagram, you'll see all my tips that I put out there. Wider plank floors, wax finishes, not as shiny
Yeah,
finish.
matte
And wax, and not as, you don't want to have the nail polish coat on top of your floor. Wider plank and light colors. So we're streamlining. Blacks are a new neutral. Whites, we know golds, but a certain kind of gold. It's the metals, a lot of metals, whether it's silver metal or gold metal or black metal. All the matte metal finishes are very, very in. And neutrals, the grays, whites, light color palettes are always going to be timeless. The elements are a little bit leaning toward the contemporary, so more of a flat panel kitchen cabinet, a little more streamlined, less moldings, less trim, much more clean line looks, and then you can mix whatever you want with that. But that is certainly the trend, is moving from, we were traditional for a while in the early 2000s, and it went transitional, where it basically had an identity crisis. Didn't know if it was traditional or contemporary.
Yeah.
And now it's moving, it's leaning from transitional, it leans toward contemporary. So real streamlined and clean looks with a clean palette, gray, white, real light off-whites, light neutral color floors, very, grays, blacks, whites in terms of countertops and so forth, with an edge of contemporary.
Love it.
That was the part of the show where I had no idea what she was talking about.
I saw Harry nod off.
Thank you, Renee, for that. I appreciate that.
He's back to life, but I'm here for it. I'm like, yes, let's talk about it.
Harry doesn't like that kind of stuff. He doesn't pay for grass. He doesn't pay for dirt.
But those things matter. So if I'm walking
Very
into a house, right, because I lack vision, like I'm a buyer, I'm coming in, you got a red wall, you got this going on. I'm like, oh, I don't know about this house, right? But if same exact house, you change that color just a little bit, you make these little adjustments, and all of a sudden your mind just goes on fire with all the possibilities, because you have to paint the picture. You're helping them.
And it's very hard. A lot of people, we realize this, have a very limited vision. It's tough. So here's a little trick that I use that for those of you who don't maybe want to spend the money or time painting that room from red to white. You can do something called virtual staging. So we do this a lot in our new construction properties where people can't visualize how something might look with furniture in it. We have people that do virtual staging, and they can change the wall color or make it with furniture. And half the time you don't even realize it's computer generated, but it looks fantastic. And then we'll put up big poster boards in the room on an easel, so that when you're going in, oh, okay, this is what it would look like if it was white instead of red, or with furniture or whatever. So
Here's all the work I have to do.
Yeah, right. You don't always have to spend the money. You just have to get creative with how it's presented.
But it's like all of the things, right? So if you're not following Renee and her team on social media, you need to. You need to hit them up on Instagram. You need to hit them up on Facebook. What's your Instagram handle? Do you know offhand?
RLA Realtors. Everything is RLA. Just find those initials, and you'll usually find us.
Love it. So because I checked out her Instagram. Great information. And if you've been listening, and if you've been fortunate enough to listening, you need to actually get in contact with Renee if you're looking to buy, if you're looking to sell, whatever it is that you're looking to do in this market, because you are going to get top-notch service. And we're not just saying that because the details, there's very few agents right now in the seller's market that are going to still encourage their sellers to get this private home inspection or do their own sewer scope and to present it to the buyers. But again, it just shows that you are now, projecting that onto your clients to make sure that they're shining in the best light. You're making them level up, right? So being in the room with you alone, we're all leveling up here, and I'm loving it.
It's awesome. I think you got to spend money to make money, right? Renee and her team,
Yeah.
they spend the money, they do their homework, and they're going to present her brand for you so you get top dollar. And I think it's important. I think, whenever you're sitting across from a professional, Renee, thanks for coming in here today, you get the great vibe, right? You get the great vibe, you get the experience, you get the knowledge level, and everything that comes along with it. You could tell. Listen, players know players, right? You can't fake it.
Right.
Players know players.
You can't make it till you make it right now. That's for
right.
sure.
Players know who should play, right? So that's where we're at.
All right. So someone's reaching out to you right now.
Okay.
They're thinking about buying. What's your advice to them?
First and foremost, you always start with a pre-approval. I have not taken anybody anywhere without having the experience of talking to one of you guys and having that ready. You need it to put on an offer. You need it to know where you're at, where you stand, what you can afford, and be educated about your own situation before you go out there and make a mistake one way or another.
All right, you heard it here right now. Pre-approvals are where you got to go. Not all pre-approvals equal the same, but it matters. From the best of the best, Renee Lasiacho, RLA Real Estate Group out of Keller Williams Domain. Get your pre-approval. If you're looking to buy a home, it matters, and who you work with matters. For myself, Becky Ellie, Mr. Harry Glanz, John Kolb, Renee, I can't say enough great things about you. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next week and on the Hardcore Mortgage podcast on Wednesday, 11:30. See you then.